How do you build and operate a £100 million per year business? Let's go into London and find out. Twice a guest judge on the UK hit show MasterChef, David Loewi is the co-founder of D&D London, a group of luxury restaurants, bars and hotels across London, Paris, New York and Tokyo. Today, D&D London owns and operates 35 restaurants, one with a Michelin star and an award-winning hotel. D&D has aggregate revenues of over £100 million per year and employs over 2,000 staff. I caught up with David at his award-winning South Place Hotel, a luxury London 5-star complete with its own Michelin star restaurant. David, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We've got a whole entrepreneurial community of people who are aching to find out about your journey. So maybe you can start off by just telling us a little bit about your story and how you came to do what you're doing now.
Really how I got into it, I started as a porter carrying bags in the Bull Hotel in Gerrards Cross and making sandwiches in old people's homes and things.
How many years ago was that? Not to date you.
150 years ago. It was, I was 18, so 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, 40 years ago, yeah.
Right.
So I was carrying bags in the Bull Hotel and loved it, enjoying being a porter, and I just enjoyed really doing whatever I was doing. And then I worked for during the Princess Diana Charles wedding, I was at Claridge's, probably the best hotel in the world to go and work in. Every important person from anywhere, from the Reagans to anyone, dignitaries were coming. We didn't have enough flagpoles in the hotel to house all the dignitaries coming in. So again, that was really exciting start into the hotel and restaurant business.
What was your next step in the process?
I worked and then went into international hotels. So I worked with Hyatt International and was sent over to the Far East to do some training with them. Worked in the Carlton Tower Hotel in Knightsbridge, which had a Michelin star, and worked my way up really from a duty manager and then ended up as banqueting manager, and which was great fun, creating amazing banquets, doing a lot of Middle Eastern work, Jewish work, and making a name for myself as sort of really bringing in some great business. So
a lot of people started as a porter or something like that, but they didn't get to where you are. So what was the difference with you? What pushed you to go further? What made you noticeable to be picked out? What was going on there?
I think, who can ever say? I mean, it's some luck and opportunity and drive, and I had a lot of ambition. Mm-hmm. Not ambition financially, but ambition to succeed and become whatever I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do the best. Right. When I was a kid, I had an amazing model railway, and I used to create mountains and just create things, and I used to go into competitions. It was just if you're doing something and really enjoy it, first of all, you've got to enjoy it. It's not just a job. Yeah. It's got to be a way of life, whatever you do. And I think then that it's about striving for success and doing things really, really well. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And was there a turning point where you could see that things were moving to the next level? Or was it
no, I mean,
incremental?
But I think if you speak to a lot of the great entrepreneurs or the, Sir Terence Conran, Richard Branson, mm-hmm. they don't look back and say, oh, we're incredibly successful. They're still striving to make their businesses mm-hmm. better. And it's like a turning point. Yeah, I mean, I took opportunities and they worked out, and mm-hmm. then I wanted to strive more for success. But I don't think any entrepreneur or anyone will say, I've reached my ultimate, what I want to do. Now with D&D, we're striving to open more restaurants, open more hotels, create more. So you've never arrived.
Makes me think of what Steve Jobs always talked about, which was if you're going to do well, you've got to be passionate. Yeah. Otherwise, you're crazy for sticking in it for so long and pushing so hard.
That's right. And you say, great, I've arrived now, let's relax. You've never arrived.
Right. And what are there any beliefs that you have that are a little bit different from the average guy on the street that you think have actually distinguished the work that you do, made it exceptional? Because it would have needed to be exceptional to get up to the level that you are at. What are the beliefs, or is there a particular belief you could pin down that?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I've had the opportunity to work with some great people and learn from them and travel. So you're constantly seeing new ideas and new things. But really, I think what makes someone in my area more successful is that absolute attention to detail and wanting it to be the best and not take second best.
Right. How do you maintain that focus without moving into the fine line of stress, or what some people would experience as stress?
Well, look, I can only do the job I'm in now by having fantastic people around me. I remember I opened Mezzo 20 years ago, which was Europe's then largest restaurant, with 2,000 customers coming through a day, with 200 staff. I mean, it was big. And Sir Terence Conran came to me and said, "David, fantastic, well done, it's amazing." And I honestly thought, well, why are you congratulating me? You know, I've got an amazing chef, John Turode, and I've got all these amazing staff. Let's go and congratulate all of them, because it's a team effort. And that may sound very, you know, it's like democratic, but it is. It's about, you can only strive success if you can enthuse other people for your vision and bring people along with you. And that's really the business that I'm in today, is we're a collection of 35 different businesses who've all got people, I hope, and that's the only way it can work, is if they care passionately enough, and I can enthuse them and make sure that they understand the vision, but we'll carry it forward and then carry that all the way down the line.
How do you find good people is a big question coming through from our community, entrepreneurial community.
And how do you find good people? And it's getting tougher and tougher over the years, and especially now with this Brexit threat over us all, it's going to make it even tougher, because you know, we want people to come into this country and carry on. The restaurant business, the hotel business, probably the construction business and the retail business are all extremely worried at the moment, because it's about attracting great people. I mean, our business, it's a bunch of buildings, but the people inside them make the DNA of the business. So that is the biggest challenge one has in this business is people. And that's why you have to be better and better at looking after good people, attracting good talent. I mean, we are a very exciting business, opening new restaurants, opening new hotels, opening new nightclubs, opening outside event businesses. So constantly, so we need the best chefs, we need the best managers. And it's about keeping, first of all, how do we attract them? By being, there aren't so many companies who are doing such exciting things as we are.
Right.
Opening like crazy. Next year we've got 2 restaurants in Leeds are opening, one which is a Japanese, where we've attracted a fantastic chef from Zuma, their top chef. We've got Astor opening in Victoria, which is 2 floors of a grand cafe and a restaurant above, which is going to be Finnish French. And the chef is Helena, who I've kept in touch with many years. She opened up Skylon. So it's this network of people. I can't do it on my own. I can enthuse people and bring them along and create the passion, but I need those great people. And it's about sensitivity. You asked me earlier about what makes me able to do my job, really. And that's about sensitivity. And to get on, I think, unless you're an entrepreneur in IT, which is probably not people-centric, if you're in the business I'm in, you have to be good with people and sensitive to people.
I was interviewing a friend of mine he runs an entrepreneurial YouTube channel with there's about 500,000 subscribers, all tuning in to get excited and enthused by what he brings. And the way he's attracted a lot of people is through one word, which his word is believe. I'm wondering, is there like a word behind your organization, behind D&D, behind you, which you put out, or is there a message that you put out which is attracting, like, oh, I know that they're a believe kind of person, or they are, for me, I think my word is empower, but is there some word that is...
for empowerment, it's 1 or 2 words, it sounds quite a corporate identity, and maybe Shell Oil do that sort of thing, but we're still, the difference between us is that we're a collection of individual businesses, and I stress that in a way that We're not a chain of restaurants. We're a collection of individual businesses with great entrepreneurs working in each business,
right?
Or great chefs who are, you know, and a great manager next to them who will together as a marriage grow the business, inspired by us. And sometimes it's not working, and that's the DNA of the business. So if I was to look, it's about passion and it's about empowerment. You're right, in a way this only works if you can find the right people, delegate to them and empower them. And that's why I'm still in the business, because there's so much you can do on your own, and there's so much you can create. We give them the structure and the infrastructure to succeed. But you need the person then to take that with you, with your support, but naturally stand on their own 2 feet and succeed. I mean, one of our best managers is Michel Bemont, who opened Alcazar many years ago in Paris, in Saint-Germain, a famous Paris restaurant. His experience was he'd sailed around the world single-handed on a yacht, and he'd run a women's clotheswear shop. However, he'd never been in the restaurant business. But his enthusiasm, attention for detail, passion, drive, all those things, tick, tick, tick. And he's been a great manager, always on the floor. You walk into that restaurant, there he is. And that's what.
So it sounds like you hire the person over the skills when they first come in.
They've got the right. We can support them, we can give them all the infrastructure, but it's about that passion and that drive. That's what you need. It's not a 9-to-5 Monday to Friday job. It's a way of life.
And I can understand now how you can attract people, because you're doing so much and you've made such an impact. People want to be a part, like the way people want to work for Apple or Google or something like that. But when you were beginning, how did you attract the right people?
Well, when I joined Sir Terence Conran and Des Gunewardena, 3 of us really, and it was a much smaller company. There was, you know, I mean, in those days, Conran Restaurants was out there taking old buildings and breathing life into them. And we've still kept that DNA and that excitement. Bluebird on the King's Road was an empty, beautiful building, but it was a charity. It was used for charity sales. And we put life back into that building. And in the German Gymnasium, in Victorian times, it was the headquarters for the German Olympic team training, and you still see the hooks up there in the ceiling. So it's that finding amazing buildings and breathing life back into them. And that was the DNA of what Sir Terence did, and that's what we still do, and to take incredible spaces and put life back into them. So I mean, however small you are or big you are, if that's part of your DNA, it's exciting, and that's going to attract people. Right. But it's not just about attracting people for the new businesses. It's also, you know, Pont has been with us for many, many years, but it's to make sure it's got a beautiful location, it's on the Thames, making sure that you've got a great chef there, a great manager who we have, and you give them the scope also to make a name for themselves and allow them to come to life. That's part of the DNA of our success of our company. Okay. I'm
just wondering if you ever get up and feel rough and not like going to work.
No, I mean, I think there's never been on the day that you wake up and think, I haven't got the excitement to go to work, that's the day you should go and do something else. Right. And so I've never had that. I mean, I love what I do, and there's not enough days in the year to do it.
Does it feel like work to you?
No, not really. It's a wonderful way of life. I mean, before coming to you, I was sitting with our A&B, which are our events. We brought someone in to create outside events in people's houses or in companies. And I was just talking to her, and how could we be better next year? We need a new chef for it. It's exciting. It's always exciting. It's setting people up and supporting them. Right.
You know, a lot of times people think, how can I get into a business? A lot of people have a business approach of, how can I get into a business, build it up and exit it after 5 years, or that sort of an idea. Do you think that there's something wrong with that, or do you think that there's...
Well, it depends. If people are doing it purely for financial reasons to become, make a lot. Of money, there are easier ways of making money. You can go work in go into banks and go to the stock market and less. I mean, when you work with, we have over 2,000 staff. When you work with staff and managers and people, it's often a lot more complicated. Everyone wants to pay their bills and get successful. Not every, I mean, it's like what makes me get up in the morning is not money. It's about creating another fantastic business. We're doing a Japanese restaurant in Leeds. Like, let's support the chef. Let's look at the detail. Let's look at the menus. Let's look at, and then during the opening period, nerves. It's like putting on a show.
Yeah.
Every new restaurant is like putting on a West End performance in the theatre, and it's the first night, and you know, all the actors, the waiters, and the staff and the chefs are there training and performing, and then the performance is on. So that's what is an adrenaline kick.
There's a lot of excitement.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
You know, you're building up, and you're constantly in the world of creation and value giving.
Yeah.
We've got a question from the community, which is, based on your early business experiences, fantastic question. What advice would you give to today's start-out young entrepreneur to elicit support from the business and financial community?
What we've done in D&D also is to support, you know, a fantastic chef and work with them to make their dream come true, really, or whatever. If they aspire to create an amazing restaurant, we would support them. But really, in order for us to support them, they'd have to have a real vision of what they want to do. They'd want to have, not always, but experience, enthusiasm and dedication, all those things. In order to really, it's a passion. So that's what I would look for in a person to back and support. If there's a person, a young chef who thinks, I really want to get this restaurant going, or get this, you know, the finances, or this, we can support people to do that, but they've got to come to the table with those qualities.
What would you say are your biggest strengths, and what do you focus on that moves things forward?
I think my biggest strength is seeing real talent in people and bringing it out and helping them succeed. So, as I've said, I can't do this on my own. I do it with a fantastic team of people. This hotel is here with a Michelin star on the roof because we've got a fantastic chef, we've got a wonderful manager, we've got great infrastructure. Now, I can attract them, but we've got to deliver for them, and they've got to deliver for us. So it's a relationship.
Do you ever have, or do you ever remember a time where you had what my friend Evan calls the little man in your head saying, oh, you can't do this, oh, you can't do this for this person, oh, we're getting too big for our boots, anything like that? And what do you do with that voice if you have it?
Yeah, look, you can't say that. I mean, whether you're talking about Terence Conran or Richard Branson or any of these guys, they're not all going in. They're all, if you put a performance on, you're always nervous it's going to be a hit. So you have doubts, but then all you can do is make sure that you've got the best people and you've got the best, you know, beautiful equipment. You've designed your restaurant intelligently. You put all the right checks all the way through to make sure that it is going to be a success.
18-year-old you, 18-year-old David Loewi comes into the room, and you get 5 minutes to give him a pep talk. What would you say to him in that time about life, about business?
That's a difficult one.
And would he listen to you? Yeah. Assuming he
No, I had mentors that I went to, and
I
enjoyed talking to people and listening, and whether it was my grandmother, my grandfather, my father. I mean, it's like I've always enjoyed spending time with people and listening. Listening is a skill, and therefore, and being, you know, however much confidence or lack of self-confidence you've got, I think people need mentors, and you need, I admired people, I respected people, listened to people, and I certainly as an 18-year-old listened to people, but I was very impatient. I wanted to get on and really strive. So the advice I would give is, look, get your experience and really get to know whatever, you know, specialize in what you want to do, and be the best at it.
Right. Yeah.
And be honest.
Yeah, I think was it Steve Martin who said, be so good that they can't ignore you. You want to be that good in whatever you're doing. So a lot of times people try to get inspiration from looking up to a great entrepreneur, Richard Branson, whoever. But some of the times I see entrepreneurs getting caught in a comparison trap where they lose themselves to that. What would you advise?
Look, I can only speak for myself, but I'm not a jealous person. I'm not like, oh, he's got more than me. I'm just like very happy with my lot, and I've always been like that. So I've really, really enjoyed being a receptionist in Claridge's and welcoming people to the hotel, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't really want to move on, but then every job, it's about the enthusiasm of doing that job really, really well. So, you know, that jealousy of the general manager. Yeah, I looked at the general manager of the hotel and thought, God, I'd like that job one day. But then when I saw the job actually got to it, I thought, well, I wouldn't. I'd like to be something else. I mean, I think it's great to aspire to success, but not to be jealous. And I think that sort of like that oh, I want to be better all the time. Just do what you are doing really, really well in life. And bring the best out of it and enjoy it. It's that passion of enjoying what you're doing, whether it's making an Apfelstrudel or creating a business. It's, you know, give it your best.
I love that idea of, you know, be present with whatever you're doing. You know, wherever you are, just be there completely and enjoy it where you are. It doesn't mean you're not striving. It doesn't mean, in fact, you're striving the most by being present and grateful for what you have. You do seem incredibly content with where you are, but
I've always loved it. I mean, I've loved working in Switzerland in the kitchens and then going skiing in between. I mean, life is such a gift. Every day that we can see the sky and enjoy life. Probably it's something to do with my father was a manic depressive, that I'm just completely the opposite and just love life. And what a gift it is to be here today talking to you.
Wow, I'm on level 7. Wow. Did that have a big impact on you? The big difference between your father and yourself, and
yeah, I think so. I think my father was a real intellectual. His aspirations was an uncle of mine who got the Nobel Prize for nerve endings. So he was in the medical profession, and he was never good enough in his own thoughts. He was a leading scientist, but not good enough. And I was probably the opposite. I wasn't I didn't go to university. I just went to hotel school and enjoyed it. But I had that passion for life. And at the end of the day, I think that's more of a gift than getting the best degree in Cambridge.
Love it.
I think being brought up by one of the brightest people in the country and a leading scientist, aspiring to get a Nobel Prize, that made that not a chip on your shoulder, but you actually thought, I want to be successful too. I'm not as intellectual as him, and actually having a father like that who's so bright can actually put a downer on you because nothing is good enough. And therefore, he died when I was 17, and it made me probably more ambitious to succeed and to show my father, who's no longer here, that actually I can be successful. So I think, I don't know, that's not riding with me, I'm saying that, but that could be one of the reasons why
there's a few different drives.
Yes, strive for success.
But it's a good, I mean, it sounds psychologically, it sounds to me like it's a darn good thing that you're striving on that proving thing with something you're passionate about, because if you weren't, that could be a recipe for disaster.
That's right.
And
a lot of people said to me, "Oh, your father would have been so proud."
Yeah.
And I suppose that does give me pleasure.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's something that strikes me. There's something actually Tony Robbins said. So a lot of people come from a great upbringing, they end up in and out of rehab. Some people come from a tough upbringing and they end up as Oprah Winfrey or whatever, doing something which really impacts the world and makes a change and gives a lot of value to people. It strikes me that whatever happens to you, if you take an angle which will propel you forward, you see it in a positive, which you've done, and you've clearly followed your passion, then, you can take yourself, your life to the next level, whilst not getting caught up in that want to be over there now, but rather
that's right.
I'm happy here.
Yeah, absolutely happy with my lot. I think that's more. Yeah, look, drive is very important, so that we're going to drive to make the company bigger. But what gives me pleasure is employing more people, creating more opportunities. There are always challenges along the way, but let's override them, let's get over them, and let's create more. And that's the enjoyment of creating great business.
Do you create boundaries between that part of you which is appreciating where you are and the part that's about driving forward? Like, is there like a time for meditation and country walks, and then there's the time for push, 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 or is it all mixed in together in some fantastic way?
There's certainly time for country walks and enjoying nature and freedom and the environment. But there's also a time when, well, I think it's about focus. If I go for a walk in the countryside, I'm looking at the birds and the bulbs and the bluebells coming up. It's just like amazing. But then if I'm in a restaurant, I'll be just concentrating really on that. You know, I mean, it's about passion really and enthusiasm for what you're doing. I think it's also, I remember a chef said to me, John Turode from MasterChef actually said to me because we opened Mezzo together all those years ago. He said to me, you're going to be really successful doing what you're doing, because I was then being promoted to doing more within the company, working with Terence and Des, because I can juggle a lot of balls at the same time. And I think that's, you know, they're specialists. And if I was to look at my profile, it's I can actually do 25 things at the same time.
And is that because you can focus on one thing at a time? That allows you to do 25? Like,
yeah,
I mean, the human mind can't take 25 things at once in its head, like to focus on. You can only literally focus on one thing. But if you're splitting, a lot of people get tired out moving from one thing to another thing to another thing. When they're doing one thing, they're worrying about the other thing.
No, you have to really concentrate on that one thing, but then do it really well. We're now looking at the company because we are growing, and therefore I'm going to put more infrastructure in, which will help me then really focus on what I enjoy doing, which is about people and staff and the quality, and looking at the food and the detail and the menus, and that's the DNA of the business. So you're right, you can juggle 25 things, but you can't juggle 125 things. Well, you can, but you just need an infrastructure of people around you.
And by the way, I just have to say to our listeners that I feel right now that I know David's got a billion things to do, and I don't want to remind him of that, because then he'll go and do those billion things. But I feel like I'm literally the only person in his world right now. He's completely focused with me, present. There's no like looking at the watch. I remember seeing Clinton versus Bush. And Bush, you know, it was when the old Bush lost the election to Clinton. And you can see when they're both having questions asked to them by the audience, Bush is looking at his clock to see, oh, I'm supposed to be somewhere. He's not present with the audience. Clinton's like completely there. And that's what I'm experiencing from you, that you're just completely there and present. I appreciate that. And I'm sure that's how your staff feel. They pick up on that.
If I'm talking to, I remember Princess Diana did that, and it made a big impression on me. We were doing a party for her, and she came up to the most junior. She said hello to me and was very polite because I was running the event. But she went out to the buffet and spoke to this young waiter who was like first-time apprentice serving food, and said, "Now, where are you from? And how do you get to work?" Beautiful. And really, she wasn't talking to him to impress me. She was talking to him because she was interested in him. And that is a skill, and that is, you know, that. Imagine him, he would have been, for the rest of his life, he said, wow, she really talked to me. Yeah. And I think it's important, if you go and talk to, you know, a member of staff or anyone really, if there's nothing to do with our business, you need to be concentrating on that person.
How do you develop a premium brand? Was your brand premium purely because of the value that you give, or is there something in the marketing that gives over a premium that embellishes that? How do you create a premium brand for those who are looking to go that direction?
How do you create a premium brand? I mean, everything that we do, I'm not saying, I mean, look, this happens to be a 5-star hotel, but I have a huge respect for a 3-star and a 4-star property. But a 3-star hotel can still be absolute perfection. It's going to have wonderful sheets and absolutely clean, but it's just doing it's got a different cost structure, and therefore allows a 3-star hotel to be incredibly successful. So it's not about always, it's about, again, striving, if you're creating a business, whatever market it's in, make sure that it's absolutely the best. And it's that attention to detail. I remember working with, again, you asked about entrepreneurs and people that have really inspired me. Well, Sir Terence Conran's really inspired me. The first time I was with him, he took a piece of paper and he started drawing, just with his pencil on the back of a book, a wine cooler, and it was a beautiful wine cooler with sort of cylindrical and beautiful stands. And then he said, "Look, here's the wine cooler for the restaurant I'm going to create." And it's that attention to detail. So he wasn't just interested in what the food is going to be and the lighting. He was interested in every single detail.
You enjoy MasterChef, and yeah.
Yeah,
did you enjoy MasterChef?
I enjoyed MasterChef. I think my family thought I was incredibly cruel, but they haven't seen nothing yet. I'd just done another series of MasterChef, where I was, it was in Fisherman's Hall, and it was a lunch again, and we were served food by the contestants, and I was honest.
You're honest.
MasterChef is a great show, but it's not about really the food that goes on the plate. It's about great ratings. It does do all these television shows about restaurants and food.
Yes.
It attracts young people to the business, which it's fantastic. So all these Saturday kitchens and all these programs, it's fantastic. And MasterChef is a really good program. It's attracted and Great British Bake Off. It's another one. I think, look, they're great fun, and actually it shows that the housewife or the person in the street, anyone can go into these shows and become a great, if they've got passion and drive, can win MasterChef, and good. That's fantastic. Are they therefore, have they got the right skill set to come into the restaurant business? Maybe. But it's about so many other things, about leadership and bringing a team with you. To be a head chef, you need a lot of attributes, and to be able to cook, and to be able to cook on scale. So it's a different skill set. But it's not going to rule one out.
Right. I think people like watching these shows because they love seeing someone who's passionate about what they do, which is so rare on the street. To see someone who's passionate about what they're doing, and they could be doing anything. If you can see, that moment when you see someone, they could be sweeping the road, driving a bus. If they're excited about their life, there's something that draws you to them.
That's right.
Can you give me an example of where things just, not necessarily it was a fail or whatever, but it was a failure according to your standards of how you like to put something out, but there was like 5 minutes left before someone big arrived or something big was happening. Is there an example of that where you had to step in and make a change, or?
I mean, there's always loads of examples of things that in this business that can go wrong. And we were doing a huge banquet for the royal family in Claridge's, and one of the footmen had got the cars all mixed up and sent all the outfits for all the footmen actually to Heathrow Airport. So the royal family were going to come in an hour, and so you have to think on your feet. That's not a failure. But
what did you do?
That was before mobile phones.
Right.
So we had to telephone Heathrow to get the cars to try and come back as soon as they arrived. No, I mean, there's always, you're in this business, things are going to go, go wrong. Look, every day is a challenge, whether it's something that's happened to the gas in a restaurant and the gas board don't fix it, or escalating issues. There's every day in this business, there is something that you need to pull back to make sure that the show goes on.
How do you survive in the first 3 years of putting your business together? How do you actually, because a lot of people struggle with things like cash flow and all sorts of different things to keep an eye on. What would your number one tip to an entrepreneur? He's just starting out, he's 6 months in, he's doing the grind, he's not seeing the results yet. How do you survive in terms of cash flow and keeping things going?
Well, there are so many different levers to pull, and you know, is it the product? If something isn't quite working, is it the product? Is it the pricing? Is it the? But a lot of these things you should have done your homework before you actually open. And there's always tweaking, but if there's a complete rejigging, then you've actually made rather a lot of mistakes on the way. And I'm pleased to say that we've got enough experience in our business that we will open successfully whatever's thrown at us. We will try and get the best people to work with us and turn things around. But to keep on the road, yeah, if that passion for attention to detail, looking after the customer, great feedback, great quality product, and adapting, thinking on your feet, you will be successful, and the rest falls into line.
You mentioned about R&D and getting things right, doing your research before. Can we pull the curtain back on D&D's R&D? How do you do your research? Do you do focus groups? Do you check out, and how do you check out an area? How do you know that a restaurant is going to work in a certain area? And what do you, or a particular food? How do you test the foods?
We don't use focus groups or anything like that. It's very corporate, and actually the best focus group is your instinct and your experience. And before I actually was working with Sir Terence Conran, they opened Pont and all the restaurants along the wharf, and everyone said, look, you're completely crazy, because I mean the city is across the river, how can you survive out here? And all the focus groups would have said, forget it. But it's about that, you know, if we're going to create something, let's make it an absolute magnet for all the people coming across, all those city guys coming across the river and having a fantastic lunch with fantastic wines and great food and great outdoor seating along the river. And sure enough, it was this great success. So we don't do a lot of research and development. We will, we know London, and you know, we have a great, we'll know what properties are on the market and how to get good businesses together. I think it's important also to know the competition. There's a lot more competition than when we started this business, and there's some very, very good people out there. And it's about seeing what other people are doing, and it's not about copying, it's about leading, and that's really what Conran Restaurants was, and now D&D is. It's about trying to be leaders in whether it's design, interior design, architecture, but all those things come into the package of being a great restaurant. Right.
What about there's a huge push especially in the tech world of, you know, the lean startup, starting with a minimal viable product, putting it out and seeing whether it actually gets any sales or there are actually customers interested. Is that connected with your business in any way, or that's a very different business? You'd say that's more for tech because you can put it out there without, you know, too much investment. You get a lot of feedback quickly.
Well, you can do pop-ups. There's some guys that I worked with, and actually I spotted, I think, great talent, and they're doing hamburgers, Le Bun, and they have been doing on street markets and just testing it, and now they want to go into restaurants. But yes, you can test it, but it's not really like a tech where, I mean, you're talking about whether it's a young chef wanting to get finance together. It's an expensive business to put a restaurant together, or it's certainly to put a hotel up. So you have to really know what you're doing.
You're starting from scratch. God forbid you lose everything, and you lose your contacts, you lose your financials, everything. All you have is the mind that you have right now. How would you start again? Or would you start again? What would you do? It's day one. You've got your passion. What would you do? Would you do those pop-ups, or what would you do? How would you move forward?
How would I start all over again? I'd do exactly as I did, probably. And lots of great people have gone, you know, and organizations have gone bust and started up again. And that shows real stamina. So I've got the stamina. I'd start without any contacts at all. Yeah, you just walk around, get to know what's going on, and then have that passion to succeed again and start from the embers and grow again. And I look, you know, when I did leave the organization of Conran, and I went and opened the Wolseley with Jeremy and Christopher, and it was just taking a building and completely on our own, starting a new business, and that was very, very exciting. Yeah, we had some, we had some resources to do it, but it was from starting from the ground.
You know, what strikes me about you is that, you know, on the one hand, there's an attention to detail, but, you know, it always seems that it's the guy who's afraid to look bad who's going to get beaten. And because you've got the attention to detail, you may have fallen into that, but because you've got the passion and you just love what you do, you're going to do it anyway. So you're going to keep turning up.
Yes,
you know,
right.
like Donald Trump, he just kept turning up at
Yeah,
the wrong interviews and got to, you know,
I don't
positions
like to be looked in the same.
No,
same
it's okay. Let's not put it.
Yeah.
Yes, but he said 90% of success is turning up. You know, just keep turning up and you know, be there and trying and pushing forward with that. And you don't seem like when I said failure, it didn't seem to strike you as something. It didn't seem to like.
It's not a terrible
you didn't
thing.
flinch.
Failure.
You didn't like, oh gosh, that would be a terrible thing or whatever. It's.
I failed my driving test. Just take it again.
Yes.
It's just like, you know. I'm not saying it didn't upset me, but
Right.
it's just like, so try harder.
Yeah. It's that commitment to getting back up again.
Yes.
What's your philosophy on competition? Like, if there's loads of competition, how do you find a gap in the market? You know, if there's a lot of competition in that area.
If you take pizzas, I mean, there's loads and loads of pizza restaurants, but actually now people are looking at that hole in the wall where these little guys from Italy are striving to open the best pizzas, and they're actually doing damage to the big chains because they're actually better. And where would you and I rather go is to that small entrepreneur. So that's been our DNA of our business, really, is that, you know, small can be beautiful. We're not a great big organization. We've got loads of separate businesses. Gap in the market. Yeah, so therefore, you can do it better even if it exists. I mean, there are always new things coming onto the market. And whether it's Uber or whether it's Uber Eats or whether it's How Clever, or Open Table, all these booking channels, and there are lots of, but it depends what you're looking to do. In the restaurant business, you can do it better, or there are always young entrepreneurial or young dynamic chefs coming along with new ideas, and they're different fads, but at the end of the day, that's fantastic, but people still want to go out and eat, and there's that about quality as we talked about before, so whatever is out there, you can do better.
David, thank you so much. You've really helped me, you've inspired me, and I'm sure you've inspired people out there listening. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's incredibly valuable and I really appreciate it.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I wish every success to all the entrepreneurs out there who are striving. Just go for it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.